Some serious color was blooming on an otherwise gray day in Medellin, Colombia. It might have rained on this parade Sunday, but that didn't stop the artisans known as ciateros from showing off their works of floral beauty at a traditional festival that brings hundreds of them to the northwestern part of their country. According to the Reuters news agency, some of these arrangements, which are made on wooden frames, can weigh over 200 pounds. But maybe that load is lightened by how one ciatero describes the parade, quote, "It's culture, it's heritage, it's love, it's passion." This event dates back to the 1950s, and one of the women who took part says as soon as it ends, creators start thinking about what they'll do for it the following year. Several described how happy they are to carry on a tradition that garners international appreciation for their work. Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to the world from A to Z. My name is Azuz, I'm your tour guide, and before we return to the Americas, we're making a stop in Greece, where hundreds of firefighters and volunteers have been battling an out-of-control wildfire. It's been burning since Sunday afternoon and has gotten near the northern suburbs of Athens, the nation's capital. Roughly 1/3 of Greece's population lives around the city, according to the CIA World Factbook, and people in areas near the fire have been repeatedly ordered to evacuate. Wildfires are common in Greece during the summer, but authorities say one thing that helped make conditions so dangerous this time around is the heat. June and July were reportedly the hottest 2 months Greece has recorded. Dry forests are fueling the flames, and high winds are causing them to change direction unpredictably. A Greek government official says half the country would be on high alert. Authorities estimated this fire had burned 25,000 acres by Monday night. Other countries in the region, including France, Italy, Turkey, and Romania, were sending assistance.
Where in the world? This was once part of the Republic of Gran Colombia. It's now an independent nation located in Central America. It's the home of a famous canal built in the early 1900s. This is Panama, a country of about 4.4 million people.
This floating collection of houses is Gardi Sugdub, one of the Caribbean's many islands off the coast of Panama. It's been home to an indigenous group called the Guna for a long time, but many of them are now leaving. Every year in the winter, houses flood due to rising sea levels. Gardi Sugdub is not the only community in the region experiencing flooding issues, but it is one of the first islands to be evacuated, except for a few locals who are refusing to leave.
We're still working on 10% of the families who've stayed for personal reasons and have not been able to relocate as of today.
Many are ending up at a village called Izberiyala along Panama's coast, welcomed by hammocks that hang waiting in the doorways of 300 newly built houses. The land they sit on was previously a yucca farm. It's about a 30-minute walk from the port, where boats are still bringing in belongings.
We, the Guna people, sleep in hammocks, so I come and sleep in a hammock every day. I don't have a bed. Where I come from, we don't have beds. But now, with this change, it feels like we're going to experience something new.
Word of knowledge. Which of these astronauts was part of NASA's Apollo 11 mission in 1969? Alan Shepard, Michael Collins, Sally Ride, James Lovell. The first manned mission to the moon carried Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins.
On this date in world history. If Barbed Wire Sunday doesn't ring any bells with you history buffs, the Cold War certainly should. And Sunday, August 13th in 1961 saw a major development in the conflict. It was when communist East Germany began walling off its portion of the city to keep people from fleeing to the west. The infamous Berlin Wall would stand as a literal and figurative symbol of Cold War division until 1989. By this date in 1969, air travel was commonplace enough that a ticker tape parade for flyers would have seemed strange. But the three men honored by three parades that day weren't ordinary pilots. They were Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and Michael Collins, who'd made the first trip to the moon 3 weeks earlier. On August 13th, they attended crowd-filled events in New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, and President Nixon presented them with the Presidential Medal of Freedom that night.
School is back in session, and with it, big spending. The National Retail Federation estimates families with children in elementary through high school plan to spend, on average, nearly $875 on school supplies, clothes, and electronics. The reason?
Electronics are a much bigger portion of back to school and college spending than they used to be. Kids these days, whether they're in elementary school, middle school, or high school, are usually attending class equipped with some sort of electronic device to aid in their learning.
It's even more expensive for college students, who are expected to spend more than $1,300 on average for the upcoming school year. And parents are not the only ones having to open their wallets. The National Association of Educators estimates that teachers spend between $500 and $750 of their own money each year to get students what they need.
While we're on that back-to-school subject, turns out there's a right way to wear a backpack, and it's not how I did it as a freshman in high school, carrying all of my books because my locker was too far away from my classes and using just one strap to look cool. Mom kept asking me why the strap kept breaking. Anyway, advice.
A backpack that doesn't fit correctly or that weighs too much, though, can cause muscle strains, back pain, and even numbness and tingling.
Dr. Sajith Azuz with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta says one of the easiest ways to measure if a backpack fits properly is to measure from the bump at the bottom of the neck to the top of the hip.
That's how long you want the backpack to be.
To help protect against injuries, Azuz says the backpack should have two broad padded straps as well as multiple compartments. Having a chest strap or waist strap is also a good idea. He says all of these things will help distribute weight evenly. Next, pack the heaviest items closest to the back and make sure it doesn't weigh more than about 10 to 15% of their body weight. A properly worn backpack can also help prevent injury. Azuz says to make sure it sits about 1 to 2 inches below the shoulders and doesn't go more than 4 inches past the belly button.
You want the backpack to kind of sit in the middle of the back.
I love shouting out our viewers from all over the place. I hate mispronouncing names, but it's gonna happen. So I'm sorry, Mr. Mahovlik and Mr. Kamak, if I've totally ruined how you're supposed to say that, but I'm so thankful to have you and your students watching from the Anacapa Adult Transition Program in Oxnard, California. Moving east to Nashville, the city in Arkansas. That's where we heard from Mrs. Newton's class. Hello to our friends at Nashville High School. And completing our coast-to-coast connection, we land in Georgia. Miss Hunt's class, thank you for watching from New Hope Middle School in Dalton. Love that cat. What do Leonardo da Vinci, Babe Ruth, Prince William, and Oprah Winfrey have in common? They're lefties. That's right, actually it's not. And August 13th has been set aside to give them a hand, illuminating lefties, spotlighting southpaws. Today is Left-Handers Day, celebrating the individuality of sinistrality. The event to recognize them has reportedly been around since 1992. Scientists say about 10% of the population is left-handed. So look left and right and let them know they're all right and never left out or left behind or left alone to fight. When you can left a hand and left some hearts alight, it's right to cite the might of lefties' lefty list of accomplishments. It shows their competence and is a left-handed compliment. I'm Carl Azuz, saluting lefties and all of our viewers on the world from A to Z. Thanks so much for watching. You mean the world to me.